Good afternoon, everybody from the California Delta. After my video the other day, I got a couple of messages from people asking me to talk about design choices that really worked for me. So I'm standing outside my house. Here's my informational sign. And I'm just going to go through and highlight some of my design choices that really worked. The first one, which you can see right there in front of my car, is the storage shed on the back of the house. I'm going to pause and walk down to it so you can get a better view. So there it is. It is the width of my house and slightly taller than my 5-foot ladder. My electrical panel is inside of there, as well as storage items. And I added this to my basic design, and it really works. So that's the first design choice that really worked. It's over the tongue, so it extends out over the 24-foot trailer, but it still keeps me legal when I go on the highway. Another design choice out here is the siding. I wanted cedar siding, and I really like it. It totally works for me. We talked about vertical versus horizontal. I wanted my house to look like what I think of as a traditional house, and that really does it for me. Another design choice is the blue roof. My door is blue as well, and I think it looks amazing under the California sky. Also, out here you can see that I have a lot of windows. There are 4 on this side, 5 on the other side, and 1 on the end. Only 2 of them don't open, 1 over the door and the 1 directly across from it. Otherwise, I have really good airflow, fairly good light, which we'll talk about in a minute, and very good circulation. I really like that quality. I like having the breeze come through and the noise of the ever-present California Delta birds. So I'm going to pause. While I'm out here, let's see if you can see at the other end. I'm going to pause and go down to the other end and show you one more thing out here. So this is a leased 100-gallon propane tank, and that really makes a big difference to me. Since I'm disabled and I can't carry even a smaller propane tank, having a leased one, as long as I'm on a property where they're servicing the propane anyway, really helps me out. I'm going to pause and go inside. So I'm standing where I can see my front door, and a lot of you know that I insisted on having a space for my mother-in-law's secretary. That was a design decision I made. It cost me 3 feet of counter, but having something from home really made a difference. It also gives me a lot of storage, as you can see. So that was a really important design choice that I made. I wanted my house to look like my house, not just a generic house. And this is one of the things that does that for me, even though I had to sacrifice counter space. Another design decision that I made was to have a tile backsplash. I felt as though there was a lot of wood in here, and I wanted to break up all that wood with another texture. And also, the white, to me, makes a big difference in the overall look of the kitchen. You can see another design choice, the butcher block. My builder made that butcher block. He had a basic layout. The layout you see, the L with the bathroom in the end, that was his basic layout. And I just modified it a little bit. Another design decision I made was this wonderful sink. It's very deep, and it is undermounted. That was a big deal. So I also made a decision with a lot of help from my friend Sheldon not to have steps going up to the sleeping loft, but to have that ladder that you can see. In doing that, I could really have a cabinet for my laundry, and I found that that design decision, which I was reluctant to make, really worked. Sheldon also made the live edge cherry table, and having Sheldon build this table was really a great idea. I'd rather have it perpendicular to the wall instead of parallel, but for various logistical physics reasons, Sheldon decided that this was the best way to do it. But I love the table, and that was a great design choice, partly because it's beautiful, partly because I can put it up when I have need for more floor space. This big window was another design choice that I made. The builder originally had a non-opening window in it, and I asked him to make it an opening window, and that makes a huge difference in the comfort of my home. Having a sleeping loft was a design choice that I made. I could have just used it for storage. It might be that I have to have a modification of it to call it a sleeping loft. I'm not really sure of all the legalities of that, but it does really help. I have had people stay there. You all know that I really like having a composting toilet. I have the capability of going off-grid, and that is something that will be important to me in the future. Another choice that I made was to have a bigger refrigerator than the builder had originally designed the space to fit. I am a vegetarian. I cook a lot. I probably could use even bigger refrigerator. If I found one that was the same width but a little taller, I would probably put it in. Of course, having a cabinet for my washer and dryer goes without saying. I use that at least once, maybe twice a week. Coming over to the bed area, it really works for me to sleep on the lower level. Although I sacrifice having a true couch, I do have storage, and there are some days when it would be difficult for me to get up in the middle of the night and come down to use the restroom because of my particular issues. So that was a good design choice. Having hanging storage, a lot of my friends laugh because I had a walk-in finished attic for a closet at my old house. For the last couple of years I lived there, so I had about 20 feet of hanging space with a sitting area. Now I have 21 inches. But I know people with tiny houses that don't have any hanging storage, and that's really important to me, and so that was a good design choice. Having cubbies for other storage, obviously, that's kind of a no-brainer. That choice really worked for me. It also worked for me to have wall space. I own a lot of art. It's not all here. I have 2 big pieces coming. They're being shipped by Ross Taggart, and they will go there. I have more that I could put up in the sleeping loft, but I co-owned a public art space in Kansas City, and I own a lot of art, and having wall space for it was really important. Also, of course, having my writing loft. I'm going to go up there. I know you've seen it, but I want to talk about some particular features, design features that make it particularly useful for me. So the house has a canted roof. That means it's close to 5 feet tall on the high side. I can sit at my desk, look out the window and write, and I don't feel claustrophobic. The fact that the roof is slanted really does a good job for me, and that was a design choice recommended by my builder, and I really appreciated that. Again, I have a nice wall up there. I thought about having a skylight. As you can see, I don't have one, but I do have a ceiling fan. I didn't really focus on the skylight for two reasons. One, I want to put solar panels on the roof eventually. And two, I read a lot about them and they leak a lot. And I couldn't maintain them, so that would be difficult. But I do have a nice ceiling fan. It gets hot here in July, although it's very dry, July and August. And so that ceiling fan will really come in handy. So those are some of my positive design choices. When you're designing your tiny house, you should think about the way you live and design your house so that it feels like your house. That's what I did, and I hope that's what you get to do too. Thanks for sharing a couple of minutes of my tiny life. I hope you all are having a wonderful Memorial Day weekend, and I'll see you next time.